First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Volodymyr, for all your efforts in organizing this wonderful conference. And a warm greeting from Italy. And I really hope to meet you in person next time. Now, as everybody knows, we are obliged to stay at home and sitting in front of a screen. But I really hope that we will have the opportunity to share our ideas, to discuss around the table, and so on. And as Volodymyr said, I'm the president of the Association for Teacher Education in Europe, which is the oldest and the largest association focused on teacher education issues. And as you can see, I'm showing you the website of our association. If you want to keep updated about our activities, it's enough to type on your keyboard ate.education, and then if you scroll down the screen, you can subscribe our newsletter. So you will be able to know all our activities about, of course, our focus is teacher education. And but today I'm here because I would like to focus on the topic of relationship between sustainable education and teacher education programs. I'm particularly happy because the previous speaker, Sabine Pandel, was the immediate past president of the International Education Association, because I strongly believe in the international relationships, and I'm particularly attached to this topic because sustainable education can represent the ground on which we can create and build new kinds and forms of education at all levels. Today, I will present, or at least I will share with you some ideas on how to make globally competent the teacher education programs, because we need to be sustainable. So, just to start, it's important to start from the past. So as you can see, in 1158, so more or less 900 years ago, the Emperor Barbarossa issued the first medieval grant of privileges reserved for students and professors. That's really important moment, because in that period, the students and the professors at university level, of course, can move across the empire for purposes of study. And this document, as you can see, named Authentica Habita, underscore the importance of sharing knowledge and experiences among students and professors. That's probably the first document that allowed all students of the emperor to move and share their ideas. This is the first example of internationalization. 900 years ago. That's fantastic to me. Now, just 2 months ago, in October, the 20th of October, the HESI, the Higher Education Sustainability Initiative, highlighted the role of higher education in building a better world. So, if you read the document from this declaration, you can see that the higher education can play a vital role in educating the current and next generation of leaders. So at the moment, it's not only a question concerning teachers, but everybody. So it's necessary in order to make visible the sustainability of education, to redesign the higher education. And here I put the link if you want to see the video of this meeting, this important meeting about reimagining teaching and learning. You can click on this link and you can find easily and follow the discussion. Mainly when the school and the university will reopen. So it's important to give a strong support to teachers and to teachers at all levels, of course, from kindergarten to higher institutions, in order to create more possibilities to involve all students and pupils. That's the deepest probably meaning for the sustainable education goal. Education at all levels for all. So what it means sustainable education in a higher education institution. In 2001, Sterling said that sustainable education is not just connected to the green economy. Of course, it's one of the aspects related to that, but to inform, to give a form to the education as sustainable, we must create a change of educational culture. So one of the key words will be the schools and the educational institution must be inclusive. Why? Because in this way we can sustain and realize the human potential. And the human potential is not related just to one situation, but to the social, economic, and ecological well-being. This is the deep meaning of sustainable education. And as you can see in the slide, sustainable education implies 4 descriptors: sustaining, tenable, so it's ethical, healthy, and durable. So a sustainable education system must be durable. It's not just an activity. It's not just a moment, but the system of our educational institution should be sustainable. Now I would like to enter in particular within teacher education programs. I don't know how many of you are involved in your teacher education programs, and but it's the focus of my studies, so I would like to stress this point. And the first document about this topic has been written 15 years ago, and this document is composed of some guidelines that addressing education sustainable development will require student teacher to think about their profession differently. So the question is not just simply to know something about sustainable education, but the new teachers, the prospective teachers, should be able to have another idea of the learning environment. Why? Because this learning environment is not just located in their classrooms, but is located in the world. So also in a local situation, teachers should be able to face the global challenges with their pupils. The question is, and the last sentence highlighted in red underline the point that probably teachers are not aware on how to do and what to do to make global their local environment, to create a virtuous circle between local and global and make sustainable their learning environment. In particular, within teacher education programs, it's important to develop competencies in education for sustainability. Second point, establish effective interaction between different people, in particular decision makers and other stakeholders outside universities or schools. So it's necessary to establish a community of inquiry for all participants. Why? Because it's necessary to see in another view on how to reorganize the educational system in order to develop an appreciation of whole school approaches. Whole school approaches means just to have a broader view of your local learning environment. One particular aspect to develop sustainable education within teacher education program is the approach called global competence. For the reason I said many times, global, not in the sense of globalization from an economical point of view, but global in order to have a broader view. So it's important that future teachers can think in an international and intercultural way. So I'm starting to create a deep interaction between two important words, international and intercultural. They are very, very strictly connected, and in order to increase and enhance the internationalization within our institution, it's necessary to create a relationship between the internationalization and the interculturalization. Otherwise, only the internationalization cannot support at the same time a good intercultural way. So, which is the way for an effective integration of global competence into teacher education program? Because at the moment, as you can see, there is no studies which can say, okay, now you have a global institution able to face global challenges, and in particular, new teachers can leave university unaware of the need for global competence and consequently are unskilled to integrate the teaching of such competencies within their curriculum at primary or secondary level. To do so, we try to focus the definition of global competence written by the OECD. I can imagine you already know this definition, but I would like to highlight the 4 main points of this definition. And it's easier to do it through this figure, because the definition of global competence stress 4 main topics. First, a globally competent teacher is able to examine local, global, and intercultural issues. Then he is able to understand and appreciate the perspective and worldviews of others, for the reason I underlined just before, to connect strictly the internationalization with the interculturalization. Then the third point, teachers or everybody, I can say, is able to be engaged in open and appropriate effective interaction across cultures, and in the end, to take action for collective well-being and sustainable development. So I think, and I think that this definition can represent a kind of background where we can build the sustainable education for our institutions, not only for teacher education programs. Of course, I'm involved in this part of the higher education institution, but whoever can create a sustainable learning environment, taking into account these 4 benchmarks from this definition. In the last year, we carried out a broad study, and I would like to show you just some findings, but just to give some insights on how to create a global environment in your local university. As Sabine Pendle said before, it's important to maintain, from a linguistic point of view, of course, your perspectives, and then through other languages to meet other perspectives. So, of course, you cannot understand easily this figure, because it's the result of a 1-year study. So you can imagine how many actions and ideas and information are included into this this figure. But you can see in these indications that, on the one hand, in order to create a global environment, first of all, there are some organizational issues. So, how to modify our institutions, how to modify our regulations of our institution in order to include and integrate the global and the sustainable issues in. On the other hand, there are, on the right of the slide, the educational issues. So, which are the main aspects, the main methods, the main contents for future teachers, or in general for all students, to integrate global issues within your study, and what's necessary to change among these 2 main aspects. So in the slides, if you want, I can give you the slide. No, it's not a problem. As you can see, the main organizational issues that in the most of the institution, we found that the indication for global competence and for sustainable issues are mostly implicit in our programs. So the first things to do is to move from an implicit indication to an explicit indication in our organizations. Then the second is there is an overall accordance within our programs with the global and sustainable issues, but it's necessary to cover a gap, a distance within within these issues. And the third organizational point is that in most of programs, there is no people responsible to sustain this development. So it's important. Sometimes everybody can say, okay, the sustainable education, the global competence is important, but okay, in what way I can do it in my subject, in my activities? And there is no explicit ways to do it. So the second slide would like to focus, and you can see in this table, global competence aspects, how much global competence is connected with sustainability through citizenship education, cultural, multicultural, and intercultural education, with the acceptance of diversity, with sustainability and well-being. So I would like to go ahead because I don't want to bother you with the data, but I would like to share with you the basics points for improving global competence and sustainable education. So of course the international issues, of course the teaching issues, but what we can do. It's necessary, as I mentioned before, to make explicit this indication to improve the global competence issues from an organizational point of view. And on the other side, it's necessary to create new guidelines and improve the internationalization and collaboration among institutions. So, as I said before, the international issues are strictly connected to intercultural issues. Why? Because in particular in the teacher education programs and the teacher education sustainability, it's important to develop cross-cultural experiences. Of course, in this moment, we can do it only in a virtual way, but we hope to restart again with in-person exchanges. Why? Because we must raise the level of the awareness of what is happening to mankind in the world's contemporary circumstance. So, as Biesta affirmed in 2017, the current and crucial educational question should be world-centered, not only child-centered, not only curriculum-centered, not only competence-centered or skill-centered, but world-centered. And I could underline some benefits, of course, of intercultural and international exchanges, but I'm quite sure that you already know these points because the prospective teachers can meet diverse learning needs, can increase their knowledge and skill sets. They can better understand about cultural learning needs, and in the end they can see the world differently. That's, I think, the most important cultural change. And so going a bit quickly towards the end of my I wanted to arrive to this slide because one of the most important issue concerning sustainable education is it's a cross-curricular topic or it's necessary to create a subject about sustainable education. And there are some discussions and debates because probably you know the history of media education, so the educational technology in general, and it's the same things because it's difficult to create just one subject to teach media education. But on the other hand, it would be important that media education and educational technology should be shared through all subjects. So for sustainable education, there is the same question. My ideal situation is to create a broad environment where the sustainability is shared and split in different subjects and in different moments. But I'm also aware that sometimes when we share something, it's difficult to focus precisely some specific competencies and some specific skills to be developed among our students. So I created this this kind of system where there are two continua, from cross-curricular to subject-based, and from faculty to internship, in the sense from the formal situation to the specific situation where our students will have to face them. So I created 4 areas, and between cross-curricular and faculty, probably we will have to arrange some workshops, some specific seminars in a formal way. But in the other side, in the other area, between cross-curricular and internship intended as the real situation, the real world, probably we have to invent, to create some events with schools for teacher education programs or other context, if you are working with other students, of course, and create some projects with schools in order to make visible the theoretical ideas developed in the formal situation. Then, in the lower part of this schema, you can find between subject-based and faculty, it's necessary to develop and enhance the international projects in order to focus the specific competencies developed by sustainable education. And in the end, between internship and subject-based situation, we should create activities in non-formal context in order to share these competencies through the society. In what way? Through, I'm particularly, I like a lot this strategy, through the outdoor learning. And with outdoor learning, I mean a situation where I can develop learning in a non-formal situation. And I work in a formal situation, but my challenge is to develop skills for student teachers in order to create a strict connection between non-formal society and the formal context. To do it, it's important to have a strong interaction among academics, teacher educators, and school teachers. You can change these words if you want to replace teacher educators with teachers in general, or school teachers with responsible of, I don't know, public library, or if you work with other with other fields. I don't know, the responsible of a factory or of a company or whoever is involved in the real world with the issues related to learn on how to create sustainability in that context. So to finish my presentation, I think that there are 4 main adjectives that we can call them benchmark to make teacher education programs or whatever program actually sustainable. The first, as I mentioned before, is global, intercultural, international, and inclusive. I think that we can create a visible, sustainable education following these 4 adjectives. So I think that this is an open discussion because there is no strict rules to develop sustainable education, but it's important to share among them some basic and fundamental ideas to create new kinds of learning environments. Thank you very much for listening.